I am here with a fresh laptop, thanks to a mysterious benefactor. Fresh install of Windows 11. I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's go ahead together as a people and check it out. Alright, so yes, I went ahead and downloaded the developer's beta of Windows 11. Now, I know what you're thinking, I'm not a developer, but I developed the skills to download. Everybody knows that developers aren't the only ones who are going to use this. It's fine. Microsoft knows that. But I've had a few hours with Windows 11, honestly, and I really like it so far. Now, I know some people have some reservations about the taskbar, you know, with moving the start to the middle, but let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and use it. I did it. It's not that bad. Honestly, I don't even think my mind registered that it was different. I just started using it. I just started bringing my mouse down to the middle instead of over to the side. It actually saves a little bit of travel time. It's not bad. But if you do want to switch it back, it's pretty simple. You just go to taskbar settings. And then once that comes up, you expand taskbar behaviors. And then you could just put the alignment is left, and that'll shift everything over to the left. But now it feels weird to me. I don't know why. I'm gonna move back to the center. It still has the option to automatically hide the taskbar, and then you can remove widgets or whatever else you want to, the search or the task view. But there is one thing that's missing. You don't have the option to move the taskbar to any other part of the screen. So like some people like it up top or over to the side. It doesn't seem like you can do that right now, at least in the developer build. So if you're one of those people that like to move the taskbar, it looks like Windows 11, as for right now, can't do that. And speaking of Windows 11, I know there's been some controversy about the specs, and I don't know where Microsoft is going with this, because this computer is so bad that it's almost a potato. If you look at the minimum specs for Windows 11, it's like a 1 gigahertz processor, which this computer has, literally has a 1 gigahertz processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 64 gig hard drive, which at least this has 128, but it's not popping on anything. So it still, for the most part, runs fine. On this hardware, it's a little bit slow. So I don't know why they're just doing like 8th generation Intel processors and not doing like 1st generation Ryzen. That's a little bit weird, because obviously it's not hardware limited. And then there is an additional TPM requirement for a security chip that most modern motherboards have. But if you have a desktop computer and you don't have it, and you have a Ryzen 1st gen processor, you can still upgrade to a later motherboard to make it compatible. But if the processor is not compatible, that gives you no option to upgrade. So I don't know what their whole deal with the specs are, but this computer is literally garbage, and it runs Windows 11 for the most part just fine. So I just want to get that out of the way and let you know I am aware of what's going on with Windows 11 and the requirements. I'm fine with the TPM chip because there's a lot of issues right now, especially with ransomware going on, and that is going to help prevent it because it will help secure basically the core of the operating system. But yeah, the other requirements are a little bit strange. Now, another thing that I know people were like, it's a little bit controversial. Some people don't like the rounded corners. It's fine. Like, I like it. It's going to be an aesthetic choice. It's really going to be up to you, but I do like how the corners are rounded. I think it looks a little bit nicer. It looks softer. And then, of course, if you go full screen, or even if you do like split screen apps, whatever. I don't need OBS open. I don't need 2 instances of OBS. Let's just open Edge or something. So if you do split screen apps, it still squares off the corner. So it's really not a big deal. Aesthetics wise, I really like the new design. Like the redesigned folders, it feels refreshing. It feels like a new operating system. I think for the most part, if you're just using this day to day and you didn't pay that much attention to Windows 10, it's pretty much going to feel exactly like Windows 10. Now, another thing that's changed, of course, if you hover over the window button, like to put in a smaller window, it does give you these options to resize the window to a more appropriate size based on your monitor. So this actually gives quite a few options, and I'm surprised because this is like a 720p monitor. Another minimum requirement of Windows 11. Like, this computer is literally like the base, like almost the lowest you can go. So yeah, I can do this, and then it'll let me pick a different app, or I can open a different app. Like if I open File Explorer, then I can just be like, okay, I want this to be the side app, and then I also have room for a third app down here, or I could have made it like another one of these corner apps, and then I can do 2 more corner apps. It does make it a little bit easier to organize, I'll admit. So this is easier if you want to do like multiple apps if you have a big screen. I think it's just just having the option to hover over and resize the windows kind of the way that you want to. Apparently these layouts are going to be based on what size monitor you have, so it might not be the exact layouts that you want, but I'm surprised that they gave as many options as they did with such a small monitor. Well, what happens if I switch it? So if I switch it, then it forces me into the 2 app situation. Can I change it from here and make this one smaller? So if I pick that layout, it changes the whole layout and lets me repick the apps. Cool. The layout thing is a little bit janky, like just playing around with it, but I think it's a little bit better than what they had before, which was literally just this, or like, you know, this, and then you have to try to line it up. It does make it a little bit easier. It's essentially the same. It's just giving you an easier option to do it. Kind of like doing second desktops. I really emphasize this in the keynote, but now you can just go to the taskbar. There's a shortcut here, which is this removable. You're gonna hide it at least. So you can at least hide it if you don't want to use it. But there's just a shortcut right here on the taskbar to add a new desktop. So I think as far as like wanting to use multiple desktops, has always just been one of those things where it's like, I know I could do it, but it's out of reach. I don't feel like using the shortcuts. But now that it's just here and I can just go ahead and pop over here and add a new desktop, it's just a lot easier. This version of Windows is not too different. It just makes it easier to use more advanced features that people might not have known existed, or they are just not feeling like using them because it was too complicated. Another issue that Windows 10 had is basically there was like the split between Windows 7 and Windows 8 menu items on the back end. For instance, if we have a look at like the volume settings, which I do like this little slide out tray here. I gotta throw it out because I don't use any of these features, but it is nice to have if you travel a lot. Like if you want to put it in airplane mode or turn off Bluetooth to save battery, it's right here. So yeah, if you click on the battery now, it'll take you to this expanded battery health menu, and it'll kind of show you the peak times of usage and if you were plugged in or not, or when you were plugged in. So it also lets you choose your power mode from here and those settings. So if I do best performance, which I need to on this, I can just select that from here, and it really makes it super easy. And then you can even go deeper with the battery usage on your laptop. Like if you want to see the last 7 days, it'll break it out in like a graph. And it even shows you which apps are using the most battery. These were all things that were in Windows before, but it's just everything's in one place. There's no hidden submenus that you have to go to. If you want to view detailed info, it just takes you back down to the bottom. So all this stuff that used to be like, you know, you'd have the pretty menu on top, and then if you wanted to go into the more advanced settings, you'd have to go into the old ugly menus, which I preferred because the informational ones were pretty, but they were not functional most of the time. And so now just having this here is way better. Like for sound, for instance. So if I hit more volume settings, now you have your individual adjustments for volume. If you scroll down, you have the volume mixer here, and it's not like a separate application that opens. It's still all within the same menu. I think that's the biggest change for more advanced users. I'm pretty sure there's probably some options that are missing that I'm not thinking about, and a lot of people probably will complain about it eventually when everybody gets their hands on it. But for the most part, all the stuff that I usually look for, like if I needed to do like some advanced settings on my microphone, which is mainly like adjusting the volume, adjusting the format, testing the microphone, not turning on this enhanced audio because it probably doesn't work well. All that stuff's here. It's right here on this panel, so it's just super simple to me at least. And I just like generally they just kind of throw in extra tidbits that maybe people didn't think to care about, but it's there now, so you can just have a look at it. Like if I go to network and internet, if I go to data usage, it'll show what's been using the most data. You can put in a limit directly from here. So there's just a lot of things that are kind of hidden in here. It even shows you if you're on a 2.4 gigahertz network or a 5 gigahertz network. That's kind of useful because, for instance, my router doesn't specify which network is connecting the device to. And sometimes I'm like, is this connected to 2.4 or is it connected to 5 gigahertz? And now I know that it connected this to 2.4. I mean, not that it matters, this laptop sucks. But this strikes a good balance of being functional and informational. So yeah, I think those menus are a lot better. They offer a lot of information, a lot less reason to have to go into the more advanced or less user-friendly section. But if you do have to, control panel is still here, and it's still the same old control panel. So if you do want to hop in and look at the old school hardware and sound, and then go to sound there, you still do have your sound and recording settings. You can still go to properties like you used to before. They updated the look a little bit of these menus, but it's a little bit more buried because you have to go to a control panel. But like I said, honestly, with the way the settings are, I feel like a lot of users probably won't really need to go to control panel. The power options is one of those things where they really didn't have a lot of the advanced settings like they have here that you would have to go into control panel for. But I think from an average user standpoint, this is going to be a lot better than Windows 10 was, because Windows 10 just had that Windows 8 legacy stuff that didn't even work on Windows 8, and then they had this stuff sandwiched in there, and it's like if you hit a button, it would just kick you over to this menu, and then it's like, boom, information dense. Whereas this kind of simplifies everything. It doesn't really kick you over to this menu like the control panel or any of the legacy menus as far as I've seen. So I really like that. I really like Windows 11 so far. It is kind of a shame that because of these requirements, it's not going to go on a lot of people's computers. Like if your computer is older than like 3 years old, they're probably not going to be able to get Windows 11 unless they reduce these requirements. But I think that this is probably going to be a good upgrade. Like I said, it's not major, but it's just a lot of stuff around the edges that have changed. One other thing we can check out too is this is also a touchscreen laptop. So one of the things that they boasted about was the fact that this is supposed to be better for touch. And on that aspect, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more usable. This computer sucks. I'm not blaming it for the lag. But for instance, this is a smaller screen. This is probably like an 11-inch screen, which would be like the size of a lot of tablets. That would be like the average size. This is still too small to try to deal with these little touch targets. I understand I could make everything bigger as far as like the text and targets and all that stuff, but at the same time, this is already like a slightly above 720p screen. It's not even 1080. So it's already not very dense, like as far as pixel density. So blowing it up is just really going to make it look ugly. And that's just an issue that Microsoft's going to have to deal with, especially on cheaper devices like this where they might not have a high resolution screen. I don't think that this really addresses the ease of use issue on smaller screen computers. It's probably a little bit easier to use as far as maneuvering around Windows. Like it's fine. Like if you really want a full computer but also kind of wanted to do tablet stuff, like if we were just using this to put on Netflix or something, that's probably fine. Split screen apps, like I was trying to scroll here. I mean, I can do the 2-finger, but even Edge on the home page, it still feels like it's not designed for touch. Like look how wobbly this is. And then if I try to like grab this, I accidentally grab the center one by mistake. It's still a whole entire mess. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's improved slightly from Windows 10 on touch, but I've just never been a huge fan. You do have this massive touch on-screen keyboard, so I don't know if you want to go to Google. Is it gonna get this right? Oh, it did. Google. So if you want to go to Google, it does have the swipe to type thing now. The swiper. I prefer the smaller keyboard. Like realistically, I don't like these big keyboards. It's gonna take longer to touch type on this than it would just be to peck on a smaller keyboard. So I'm glad that they added the option to do the smaller keyboard that looks similar to a phone screen and you can kind of move it around, because I don't know, let me see, Amazon.com. That's a lot faster to me to do that or to swipe on that than it would be to use that big full screen keyboard. So the keyboard is definitely an improvement. Oh yeah, before I forget, let's talk about widgets really quick. So there's another shortcut down here to bring you to the widgets menu. So it kind of pops out. I don't know if it's just glitchy because this computer is slow. I feel like it's probably partially the computer. But yeah, here you have your widgets, and I don't know. It's pretty underwhelming. Like, I don't know. But you can go in there and add some widgets. Right now, it's just like weather, photos, esports, whatever that is. So like you can kind of customize a little bit what you want. Unless they get third parties on board, I think the widgets thing is going to be useless again, just like it was in Vista. At least now, most people probably have hardware that's capable of running it well. But I just don't see the widgets tab thing being very useful. So these are just some of the things that I've noticed from the limited time that I spent with Windows 11. I haven't tried the docking thing where you can dock it and it's supposed to save your window position from when it's undocked or docked. But overall, I think this is going to be a really good upgrade for people that can get it. I think it makes it a lot more usable. It's a lot less confusing to people that aren't tech savvy. It still has the more advanced menus for people that need them. And of course you still have like PowerShell and command prompt and all that stuff. So it's everything that's good from Windows, but it's a lot more user friendly. It had a design refresh because, you know, the design was getting a little stale. We need a little remix. I like it. But yeah, that's Windows 11 so far. I'll probably actually upgrade my computer as soon as it becomes available. I'm not installing a beta on my main computer because who knows what's going to happen. I got to edit videos, people. Anyway, that's going to bring this video to a close. But if you enjoyed it, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time.